Hello everyone, welcome to our channel CareersTalk. My name is Ran Sharma. I'm an agile consultant based in Netherlands. And at CareersTalk, we invite industry experts from around the world to share their real experience with us. So today we are going to discuss Scrum Master interview questions shared by one of our community member who recently attended an interview at HSBC. And to help us with the discussion, I'm super glad to have Devika from Poland with us. She has over 10 years of total IT experience as a project manager, Scrum Master, working with clients across India, Australia, US, and Poland, of course. But before we start, please subscribe to our channel. If you enjoy our quality content, don't forget to like, subscribe, right? And if you like to talk about your career, your interviews, or if you want to move abroad, you can schedule a one-to-one call with me. I can add the top mate link. You can just check it out. And yeah, we also provide some silver and gold YouTube membership. So if you want to look into some exclusive interview questions, live interview questions, friends, so you can watch them as well. Enough promotion. Let's move on. So let's get started. Devika, thank you for joining us today. Over to you.
Hi, Sanam. Thank you so much for inviting me over. A brief about myself. I am Devika. I currently work as a Scrum Master in Poland, and I bring about 10 years of experience across IT and non IT clients. I actually began my career as an account manager and a client servicing person, and that gave me a very strong foundation into stakeholder management and delivery. And over time, as I grew in my responsibilities, I grew into managing end to end projects and working in both waterfall and agile environments. So that's about me. But I would not like to start without thanking you because, all in all, in my whole journey of getting a job, securing a job, Career Talk has been very helpful. I would like to give a huge shout out to Priyanka because I think in collaboration with you, she also has various videos where she very nicely tells about various questions, whether they are technical questions or they are subjective questions or situational, and she does it very well. Somebody else I would like to give a big shout out to is Jyoti Mishra, who also had conducted the latest technical Scrum Master course with CareersTalk, and I would like to tell them that all that they are doing helps a lot. And I would finally like to thank you for making this beautiful platform, because I think, yes, one aspect of it is that while we're preparing for jobs, it's tremendously helpful. But the other is that even if you are working in an organization which has limited amount of co-workers, scrum masters, etc., you can always come back to this beautiful platform and learn from their experience. And this is where careers talk has helped me tremendously, because I come back again to polish my knowledge about agile, about scrum, about different things and concepts to careers talk, and it helps me a lot. And moreover, I can learn from experiences from so many people who come to careers talk. So thank you so much, Sanand, for this beautiful platform.
Wonderful. It's not a paid promotion, right?
No, actually, it's like guru dakshana, because
Oh, that.
yeah.
Thank you, Devika. Wonderful. Okay, so shall we start now?
Yes, we can get started.
Okay, so here comes the first question. So let's say a company hires you with a job description that mention both Scrum Master and Project Manager responsibilities. So
Hmm.
how you will interpret this expectation and how would you balance the two roles in actual practice?
Okay. So when I see a JD for Scrum Master and Project Manager, I know that this particular place wants me to balance team coaching with delivery predictability. So on the Scrum Master side, they would probably want me to facilitate events, coach the team on agile ways of working, removing impediments, and supporting the PO by keeping, the backlog healthy, ensuring the stories are following invest criteria, that is like individual, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, and testable, and stories are following that. and ensure that I have systems and processes in place to make teams first self-organized. That is, the team decides how to do the work, who picks what tasks, how do they collaborate, how do they slice the stories, how do they run the stand-ups, and day-to-day organization, and finally leading to self-management. That is, the team also takes responsibility of what work gets done and why, and making the right kind of commitments with good amount of predictability. They are able to negotiate scope. The other part is that I also have to ensure that I use the right matrix on the Scrum Master side to ensure this is happening. Like, for example, I have to transparently use burn down charts, sprint boards, check for blockers in the stand up, and I have to use maybe cumulative flow diagrams to spot bottlenecks, and for retros, maybe along with cumulative flow diagrams, we look into cycle time and bug counts to drive improvement discussions. And also, I raise the elephants in the room. That is what I have to do on the Scrum Master side. But when it comes to project management side, they want me to handle delivery and forecast in a predictable manner. So what they want me to do is that they want me to provide stakeholders with the predictability they need without slipping into command and control mode. All right. So they want, maybe like in sprint reviews, I use burn up charts to show progress versus scope and share velocity trends for delivering context. In Scrum of Scrum meetings example, I highlight epic progress, dependency trackers, and risks. And during backlog refinement and planning, I use velocity capacity for predictively forecasting correctly. I ensure that I'm also telling about these things to the team and how this works. I take care of story age, and I'm able to spot stale stories before it's too late. And I give predictive estimates to stakeholders so that they are not in the dark, and also ensure that we are committing the right kind of commitments in the sprint so that the team is not underworked or overburdened, and the POs are not committing anything else but what could be actually delivered. So this way, I know they want the best of both worlds. And this is what I have to balance when I see a job description like this.
Yeah, nowadays it's very common to have these kind of job description with slash slash slash, and
Yes.
probably they are looking for someone who is mix and match. Especially, I think in European, in fact, in Indian also, but even in European market also, this is some kind of trend. Maybe they don't understand, but probably they might need a guy who can, like, they can get a best of both the worlds. So anyway, so
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you, Devika, for that elaborated answer. I think that's really good. Okay, so let's move on to our next question. So next question is, let's say during one of your team meeting, one of your team member will say, let's say, Agile is just a mini waterfall. So how would you respond to this statement? Or maybe you can, if you can give some example to clarify the difference, that will be great.
Okay. So actually, to be honest, based on my experience, some people actually believe that, Sunand. Believe it or not, they actually think that Agile is a mini waterfall. But to be honest, it is not supposed to be like that. So, what thought process they are coming from is that, what is Agile? Okay, I used to do waterfall, and I used to deliver step by step, sequentially the work, and now I just use sprints to do the same. So where do you see these things happening? I'll tell you more. So I think that this is actually, when you say Agile is a mini waterfall and it is happening, and somebody's saying that because they could see that happening in your team, it's basically, there is a good indication that unknowingly we are copying the old waterfall phrases inside a sprint. So there could be various ways you see this manifesting. For example, the team treating sprints like a container. Like, first few days you get the requirements from the PO, then you start designing, then the development starts, and only at the very end the testers get things to test. So, in the burn down chart, you will see something like a very flat plateau, and then immediately
Slash.
Yes, like towards the end of the sprint, you see a sharp downward trend. So that is one thing that you could keep in mind. There are another ways also this can happen. For example, some teams, they are splitting, across sprints, the different things to do inside a story. Like, for example, sprint one, for the same story or same thing, they'll do the development. Then sprint two, I've also seen that then they start the QA. So nothing is really shippable in a single sprint. And that beats the purpose of Agile, because the very purpose is that at the end of every sprint, we give something that is shippable, that's something that people can use. And this is not being done. Another thing that you can notice is that in their definition of done, if the developers have completed a story, you mark it as done. There's no QA, right? It does not include to be tested. What you're actually doing is actually waterfall, just masked as agile. So the worst case scenario is you are actually still working a waterfallish way with just more meetings. That's worse, right? So this is what you are doing. So how do you spot it? When you see developers and testers work in silos, they're not collaborating in refinements, QA only starts after dev is done. Each developer looks like they have
No
their
shared
own,
ownership, basically.
yeah, too much documentation inside. So yeah, there's no shared ownership. Or for example, you can spot it when you see a story being divided into subtasks of backend, then front end, then something else, then QA. That is also an anti-pattern. As I already told, on the charts you will see burn down having a plateau and then a steep downward trend, right? So that is how you see, these are some of the telltale signs of being mini waterfall in Agile. And how do you avoid it? One is vertical slicing. So think of the work you're going to deliver as a cake. So if I just give you the first half of the cake and make you eat, will you feel happy about it? Will it be tasteful? Of course not. And similarly, you could not get the taste of Agile if you are just slicing the story horizontally. That is, you are slicing it by just one functionality. You're just slicing back end or front end or something like that. So you will get a holistic taste of it if you cut it right vertically. So you can also taste the fondant, you can taste the sponge, you can taste the cream on it. And when you taste all of that together, that is when you have a good taste of cake. And similarly, when you slice a story in a way that you can see front end people can work on it, back end people can work on it, UX people can work on it, and finally it is tested fully by the QAs, and then it is done, and then you eat it, it's ready to be eaten. That is when you get the good part of Agile on your side. So one is vertical slicing, slice a story in a way that front end, back end, QAs all work together, and story is only complete when QA is ready. Second, swarming, you have multiple roles across business, dev, QA work together on a story to finish it fast instead of working on their own siloed tasks. Then you involve QA early. So QA pairs with dev from day one, writes tests early, or uses automation or mocks so that they don't wait till the end. Another thing you could do is have your definition of done right. So it should include testing, integration, and it should make your story or the thing that you're developing ready to ship and not just dev finished. And then you have to focus on sprint goal, make it in such a way that at least by mid sprint you have, even if small, but some things ready and demoable. So that way the last minute plateau would not happen, right? You can also enforce work in progress limits, so you don't start too many stories at once, and you are finishing things before you taking up other things, and then you don't see this again. And continuous integration, that is, you merge and test code often so that bugs show up earlier. So these are the things that you do to prevent it.
Wonderful. So friends, of course, you don't have to explain that much, but then I think she is like a powerhouse. So it's great to hear from Devika. So wonderful. Okay, so let's move on to our third question, which is pretty simple, but it's always challenging. So suppose, let's say you are assigned to a newly formed team. So what would you like? What are the different steps which you take to onboard them? Like how you're going to build that kind of rapport, and how you are going to set all those agile practices from day one. So
Hmm.
how you will make sure that everyone is prepared.
Okay. So for this, I will divide my answer into week one and month one. All right. How do I approach this? So in week one, I'll start by making sure that we've got the right leadership and skills in place. If there's a gap, we'll be bringing a senior TL temporarily, tech lead temporarily, and we can arrange mentorship check-ins or lean on some kind of leadership programs if your office has some, so that the team has the right kind of guidance from day one. I will also confirm that the devs are strong in their primary tech stack. So we're not leaning on just learning the basics from day one, and we're not trying to learn. If there are gaps, you can work towards bringing new team members with the right skill set, borrowing existing team members. You could look at that way. You can onboard some other existing employees, or you can, if you already have somebody in the team which you think that, oh, they can actually fill in the gap, you can look at training programs or training setups for them. You can even think about, say, having paired programming with somebody senior so that they continuously learn the skill from somebody senior and they are able to do it properly over time. You can also recruit. And then when this is taken care of, then I will handle the project handoff, making sure that the team has access to all the systems, like, for example, depending on what they use, like Slack, Jira, GitHub, all the tools and tech that they use. They have the right documents in place, they have the materials shared. I will also prepare the client to lead the kickoff meeting so that they can explain the business context, goals, and challenges. And I create a space for the team to ask questions. So in parallel, I also will run an internal hopes and concerns sessions where team shares what excites them and what they're worried about, and this will help us surface risks earlier. Still, in week one, I would begin scoping the MVP with the PO, with the client, and also helping them define milestones, user stories, priorities. I find it very important to align on what we would do and what we won't do. That's week one. By month one, focus will be on the processes and rhythms, because when you just join in a team, having the perfect foundation is key to actually making your team self-organized and self-managed eventually. So if you build the foundation right, you are on the right direction. And I think from the very first day, you have to look at it from that aspect. And it also makes your life easy later as a scrum master or a project manager. So I will spend some time observing the client, how they currently work, how do they communicate, how do they release, and which tools do they use. Then I would co-design a working process with them. Ceremonies like stand-ups, refinements, planning, release flow, and feedback loops. I will ensure that we have feedback loops. I will make sure that the definition of ready and definition of done are defined in place, and our workflow is visible in whatever project management tool the client is using. It could be Jira, ClickUp, GitHub projects, whatever they use. Then I will also clarify the roles and responsibility. It is very important, because if it is not clarified from the very beginning, it becomes a huge impediment, because people just go in all directions for all kind of questions, answers, clarifications, etc. So I'll make sure the PO understands their accountability for backlog clarity and prioritization, and that the team is clear on their own expectation. In my recent team where I onboarded, I also made a document like go to people for problem solution. So, and it was shared across the team, so they know exactly who to go for different kind of impediments, so that I am not a bottleneck. And they, even if I'm not there, they know who to approach and how to get things solved. We also used working agreements, team working agreements. And initially, when we made team working agreements, we made very basic team agreements. And with time, we kept on updating that. So that is in place. I think that's a huge good start. And apart from that, I will also take care of administrative hygiene. Like we have project trackers in place, different Slack channels or WebEx channels, depending on what you're using, a shared documenting or knowledge place, ensure that it is transparently available to everybody and they know what to use when. And the result is by the end of the first month, the team has clarity on who's doing what we are delivering and what we are working and how we'll measure progress. This means we could probably start delivering value very confidently and while also surfacing and mitigating some kind of risks early.
Okay. I'm going to hire you in my team. Okay.
Anything
Okay.
you would want to add?
No. This will be like 1 hour session, so that's okay. It's a half an hour session. That's okay. Let's move on to our next question. Okay. So let's say you join a team and
Hmm.
that has to deliver a MVP and in just 2 months. Okay.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how you're going to approach the planning, the coaching, and execution in this high pressure situation?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So if I am joining a team which is going to release an MVP in 2 months, actually my planning will start before. So I'm going to actually divide my answer into before I join, during the 2 months, and after I release an MVP, because then there are steps everywhere. So let's just start. Okay. So with a new team, you know, to be honest, and in my experience, you rarely get everything ready on day one, right? So my first step is to assess what is in place and what is missing. So do we have clarity about MVP? Do we have a proper roadmap ready? Because many a times you might just have a presentation and not a roadmap, right? Are we clear on what must be delivered versus what can wait, right? Do we have stakeholders agreeing on success criteria, trade-offs, etc.? Is the team cross-functioning enough? Do we need to bring in somebody to deliver properly? Because this is critical. Like we have just 2 months, right? We could not train anybody. So here I would look at short-term things, and I would look at hiring people inside my team, if at all needed, who do not lack competencies that we need here. All right. Are we missing any key roles? If so, then we have to start hiring them. Do we have working environments ready? Repos, CI/CD pipeline, is it working fine? Are the test setups ready? Do we have at least a seed backlog refined? So sprint one, it doesn't start empty, right? And do we have like a definition of done set already? Does it include testing and integration, or does it only include dev done, right? So whatever is missing out of all the questions I'm asking here, I'll make it visible to the stakeholders, and immediately I will help them prioritize and fix those gaps. And at the same time, I'll align on cadence. I'll start my scrum mastering work. Like, I'll work based on how they work on the right sprint length, the right kind of ceremonies, their timings, length, regular release planning check-ins, so that there's an alignment before we commit to work. During the 2 months, when I am actually inside the team, in the first week, I'll actually align with the PO on MVP and goals and priorities, and with the team on how we'll work together. For the same first sprint, I'll coach them to slice work small and vertically, something we just talked about. So that, and this is even more important when we're having an MVP in 2 months, we could not afford not to have vertical slice, so that we deliver fast, we deliver small, and even if we fail fast. And the bugs, if at all they come fast, so that at the end of the day, we're not in a soup. The thing with high-paced environment is that early feedback is very important. Failing and improvements are crucial. So I push for all of this early. I'll also push for swarming. That is, ensure that all the competencies are working together from the very beginning. They're not working in silos, because this does not come without repercussions. Ensure that throughout the goals that are happening, at least some small stories get done that is fully QA'd by the mid. We don't have to wait until the end of the sprint. And I'll also keep transparency high with lightweight metrics. Like, for example, I'll be very transparent with burn-ups against the MVP scope, blockers from the stand-up, ensure regular backlog health checks, and ensure that these feed into our release check-ins, where we regularly review what's complete, what's at risk, what are the trade-offs. As the release gets closer, I'd help the PO prioritize ruthlessly because this is important, and protect must-haves and make sure integration and testing aren't left at the end. So this is what I will do during, and what I will do after the release. My focus here then will shift to stabilization and learning. So I'll ensure we have a plan for immediate support and bug fixing. With stakeholders, I'll review whether the MVP met the success criteria we set, and whether we've learned from anything from early adoption. With the team, I'd run retro specifically on MVP delivery, what worked, what slowed us down, what we do differently for the next delivery, for the next release, say. And then I'd help PO evolve the backlog for post MVP iterations, so that we build on what we have learned instead of treating the MVP as the finish line. So overall, I'd first assess and close the gaps when I start for the foundations. Then I'll coach the team to deliver small increments with clear alignments. And then finally, stabilizing and learning once the MVP is in the hands of the users. That's it.
Okay, wonderful. I think that's a great approach, step by step. Great, Devika. So let's move on to our last question of the day. Is with respect to retrospective. So let's say think about a situation where your team faced challenges during retrospective. So maybe it's a low participation, or there may be some conflict, or there is some repeated issues. So how or what you are going to do, or how you are going to manage these kind of things in retrospective?
Okay, so I'll just bring in my experience. So throughout the years that I have served as a Scrum Master and Project Manager, of course, I've faced issues and problems during retrospective. So I'll just tell you the situation and how I resolved that, and maybe that'll help. So, okay. So I've had many situations. The first situation I can think of was when my retro sessions turned into ranting sessions, right? So, and the problem was not even that they were venting. Problem was that the same pattern of obstacles came again and again in different forms, right? So, and things like, we desperately need more people, but management won't hire them, or other departments don't support us, or the tools aren't good enough. This is just so bad. And all these concerns will come up. And basically, if you look at and hear these properly, these are the things that the team could not directly fix. It's out of their control. But the venting sessions happening again and again, it gave a sense to the team that they could not help their situation, and the morale actually went down. So the core issue here was that the team lost sight of what the true purpose of retro is. That it is just not to list the problems or vent the problems, but also to identify the improvement areas. And that's what we were missing there. And without that, we are stuck in this endless loop of negativity, which we needed to break out of. So what I did here is facilitation format from an open-ended to a circle of control format. So first, in that format, we brainstormed all the issues as usual, but we then categorized the issues into two. One, things which are under our control, and the other which aren't. So we prioritized things which we have control on and first worked on that, and then we approached and we vented about that which we don't have control over, so that people actually, through venting, they feel heard, and that is okay. But we also agreed to create action items only from the things that we can influence. We had clear owners of those action items within the team, the things that we can control. But for the things that we could not control, I took them up. And some of them, the PO, because he had direct contact with some stakeholders, he took it up, right? we took the onus of taking care of those things, and regularly we would get back to them in the stand-ups or retros, depending on how critical the issue is, to give them constant update on what is really happening. As a result, over a few sprints, we saw constant backlog of improvements that constantly we got a solution to because of the retros. And also these comprised of both internal and external things, but then also that helped the team to manage their emotion, increase participation, and actually get the core value of retrospective in place. So that was first scenario. Do you want me to continue for the second one, or this?
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's okay. Go ahead. That's okay.
Okay. So this one is a little radical, okay? And this is like it was a very hard scenario that I faced, okay? So I stepped into a team, and there were a couple of new hires who would just not engage in a retro. And, there was, as soon as the retro started, you could see their disengagement. The videos will be shut, they would not talk, they would just stay, but then they would not contribute. And the issue was that when I reached out to them in our one-on-ones, etc., I understood actually that they have this stigma of the retro because the company they are coming from, the whole team was hired from a single company. So the company they are coming from, they had really bad experience with the retros. They were like really blame game sessions nobody wanted to get into. So at the end of the day, I think as a Scrum Master or Agile practitioners, you need to recognize that Agile is not a dogma. You have to switch according to the context, and you have to finally make it work. You cannot not be agile in agile, right? So the core of the matter is that you have to ensure that inspect and adaptation is continuous, and it does not stop no matter in what form. So what I did is I rebranded retros. Instead of saying retros, I actually resorted to very focused topical discussions. Those were retros, those were in the formats. I use techniques like opening the topic, diverting, diversion, brainstorming more things, and then finally converging. So I'm using all of those things, but those were super targeted topical, like for example, bug prevention workshop or flow check, things like this. So I rebranded it so that they knew that they're getting into a very targeted meeting. I did not say retro, but there were continuous improvements. Simultaneously, I also made the retro part of it asynchronous, so they could asynchronously put in their issues, problems, appreciations, and I distributed that. And if there were any problems which were critical, I would repurpose them into topical formats of meeting and then address them there. So this is the worst case scenario. I recommend it as the last resort option, but yeah, this happened.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing all those real-time scenarios, Devika. Wonderful. So yeah, with this, I think let's take a pause and let's do a second session. So thank you, friends, for joining us for today's session. And I am 100% sure that you found this session helpful and informative. So if you enjoy the session, if you love the energy of Devika, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And we hope to see you in our next session very soon with Devika. So until then, take care. This is Sunil Sharma signing off along with Devika. Bye-bye. And thank you, Devika, one more time.
Happy to help. Take care.
You.
Thank you so much for inviting me.